After 48 recommendations of change to the TCI's constitution, Constitutional and Electoral Advisor Kate Sullivan spoke with media representatives today at the Hilly Ewing Building in Providenciales. The report was published 4 days ago and presented to the Consultative Forum yesterday, August 3rd. Sullivan said she's been receiving good feedback.
I've had a little bit of feedback. I was at the Consultative Forum yesterday where the forum members were asking some questions to clarify some of the areas of the recommendations, which I think was a very useful process, and I think people who listened would have heard a little bit more maybe than what people can read about. And there's some areas where I might try and put some more information in the public domain to help people make their views. I think people were happy that I met the timetable, because we were obviously under some speed to try and get things out in July, but it's important that people have time to consider these issues. So,
a proper electoral system was one recommendation made by Sullivan.
Firstly, I want to clarify that I'm very clear that the current voting system isn't suitable, and I don't think it should be retained. There's two different options I've provided to give people the chance to think about how they'd like to elect the Assembly. So basically the first option is a fairly standard list proportional representation system, which is fairly widely used around the world. And the second one is what's called mixed member proportional or additional member system, which is used in Germany, and that's the best known country that uses it, but it's not a German system. And in fact, it's used in New Zealand, and it's actually used in the UK. It's used to elect the Scottish Parliament, the Welsh Assembly, and the Greater London Assembly. And why people are interested in that system, and why I think it might be an option for the TCI, is that it has both district MPs, and certainly from my first round of consultation, very clear feedback from people was that they liked having an MP with a geographical identity. Particularly each island saw that it was important that there was someone who spoke for them on the national level.
The qualification for TCI belongership and residence, and the process by which this is acquired, the rights and duties of belongers and residents, was also looked at by Sullivan. She also made it clear that she was only asked to look at the definition of the franchise. She recommends no changes.
It can remain belongers who are 18. What I am also saying very strongly, and this influences the number of people who would be eligible to register to vote, is that there needs to be a clear, objective and documented process by which someone who has moved to the Turks and Caicos can apply for a grant of belongership. So you would still have that people are belongers by birth and that people are entitled to apply for belongership by marriage. But instead of the situation we have now, where it's a discretionary grant and it's very unclear and it's a completely subjective process, which I know the Commission of Inquiry discussed and has been an issue particularly during the Immigration Reform Commission that looked at this issue and was very concerned about the fact that there wasn't a process. That now is the time to act on all of those concerns and all of those recommendations and put a process in place. That people who have been here for a certain period of time, who have been granted a permanent residence certificate, at least 5 years after they've had that, and they'd probably have been here for about 5 years before they got the PRC, so they've been here for 10 years altogether. They're law-abiding, they haven't broken the law, they continue to be of good character. If they've become a British Overseas Territory citizen, which fulfills some of their residency requirements, then they would be entitled to apply for a grant of belongership. So, and once they're belongers, obviously then they'd be entitled to vote.
News 4 will have part 2 of Kate Sullivan's meeting with members of the media in a subsequent newscast. For WIV4 News, I'm Takara Bain.